Chapter 4 is where we are. We made it through 2 verses last week.
Do we have a new sheet?
No.
The one that you gave out last week. You have that one?
Oh, we have that one.
You have that one.
You know what? I may have that on my desk.
That has historical
Sarah.
context.
Can you go copy that for Sarah?
Oh, thank
And
you.
Sana.
Thank you.
And Sana.
2 of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, forgot to bring those new sheets. All right, while Sarah is gone making those copies, any feedback from last week? Any questions? Any comments? We talked a lot last week about the throne, if you remember that, and remember the phrase that's been used a lot, and thank the Lord, God is still on the throne. That's the phrase we've talked about. I've certainly heard it many times from people. But what does that even mean? And so this idea about God on his throne shows up all through Scripture. So it's cool to see how, once again, it's like we get this picture. The curtain of heaven is pulled back, and there we see God on the throne. And so then the other part that we talked about last week, if you remember, is you have this pattern of this is in heaven, this is on the earth. This is in heaven, this is on the earth. This is in heaven, this is on the earth. And so chapters 4 and 5 is a picture of what's happening in heaven. And then it will come out into chapter 6, what's being talked about in heaven will then be manifest on the earth starting in chapter 6. So this pattern goes back and forth. Heaven, earth, heaven, earth, heaven, earth, heaven, earth, all the way through. Okay? So, rather than going back, I want to just start in verse 3. But we'll read verses 1 and 2, then we'll start in verse 3. After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet, said, "Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this." So a couple of those things, the voice was referred to in chapter 1. So it's that same voice. And speaking to me like a trumpet. And what did we talk about last week about the trumpet? Why does he say it like a trumpet?
It's loud and boisterous.
Yeah. It's something to get your attention, you know. So it's not just a whisper. It's speaking like a trumpet. You've got to pay attention to it. And he says, "Come up here. I will show you what must take place after this." What's the after this mean?
The letters or the sermons.
Yeah, after the letters of the sermons, the things that are talked about there. Okay. Verse 2, "At once I was in the Spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven, with someone sitting on it." All right, so that's where we left off. Verse 3.
Did we talk who was sitting on it?
What's that?
Did we say who was sitting on it?
We talked a little bit about it. If you remember, we talked about the Ancient of Days.
Was that the day of the Lord?
Day of the Lord is the idea that God is, it's His day.
Okay.
The idea is, we talk about somebody's going to have their day. You know, they'll have their day in court. You know, where they get to.
Has his day.
Or there's that too. So the idea is that God is going to have His day, and that will be the day of the Lord. For now, the world seems to be winning. The world seems like way too powerful, and then God just seems powerless. And that's why John sees this vision, and so behind this door, behind this curtain, he sees a God who is all powerful, and then he's described what this day will look like, this day of the Lord. And the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian.
Mine says ruby.
Yeah, ruby. How many of you have a King Jimmy?
Me.
You got the King Jimmy? What does it say?
Sardine stone.
The sardine stone.
Sardine stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
King James, man.
What is a sardine stone?
No, it's actually a red stone.
A red
Uh-huh. Sardinus is, I think, is
Color.
a color. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, when you see the word sardine, hence the reason why nobody uses the King James anymore. Because when you see the word sardine, what do you think? Fish. You know, so
Stinky fish.
pastors who use the King James, I find they spend more time explaining what the King James means than they do actually preaching.
Wow.
I know. I just had to get a little dig in there, Ed, for you.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and the
like
one
that.
who sat there had the appearance of jasper. What color is jasper?
Green.
Interestingly enough, not always.
No?
I think like the Japanese cut on that green.
Right. So when you think of jasper, you typically think of a green jasper, but it's not always. In fact, I want you to turn in your Bible to Revelation 21.
I had no idea what color jasper was, so
I googled it. The most common is red.
jasper.
That's what it says.
Red,
Really?
yellow, brown, or green.
Go to Revelation 21,
If it's in Google, it's gotta be right.
21.
verse 11.
Saw the glory in the pavilion.
Jasper.
Jasper. Clear as crystal.
Clear as crystal.
Ooh.
So here's the issue, and I read this in Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary, copyright 1986. Says the Jewish people valued gems for their beauty, usefulness, and hardness. No gem deposits existed in the land of Palestine. The Israelites secured their jewels from surrounding nations by stealing from them, beating them, whatever else. Secured their jewels from surrounding nations, which resulted in the art of cutting and engraving gems. Precious stones are mentioned 13 times in the Old Testament, and over 20 specific gems are named in the entire Bible. Since the Hebrews described gems by color or hardness, their precise identification is often difficult. So when you read about the jasper in the Bible, it shows up in different things. So it's really hard to tell. One commentary I read, actually two different commentaries I read, said they think that the jasper that's being talked about here is actually the diamond.
Ooh, even better. Shiny.
Yeah.
Clear can be colored, it's just a clear color. There's
Right.
no sediment.
But when you
or-
think of jasper, jasper is not a clear, not a green jasper.
Okay.
Isn't Jasper Diamond a actual company now? Or am I thinking, I must be thinking.
Jared?
Jared.
I must-
Okay, Jared. Jared is a-
Galleria
yeah.
jewelry.
Isn't there a group of Jews that their primary job is to cut diamond?
It's entirely possible. The Jewish people are very meticulous and stuff, and so it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know that for a fact, but
And I'm thinking I'm taking that from some movie or something.
yeah.
There probably is.
I know the Swiss are known for their
Cheese.
precision and.
Army knives.
I was thinking cake rolls. That's what I was thinking.
Little Debbie.
I know.
Army knives.
Oh, that's
Clocks.
pretty.
So, okay, here's a couple other things about it. Jasper is the first foundation stone in the New Jerusalem. So in Revelation 21,
So Jesus is Jasper.
what's that?
So Jesus is Jasper.
Well, there's more than one
And the new what?
in the New Jerusalem. And then in the NIV, the word is carnelian, but it was sardine or whatever. Sardius, but in that is the sixth stone in the New Jerusalem foundation. Also, these stones, both of them, appear on the high priest's breastplate. Remember, there's 12 stones, if you remember? Interestingly enough, the jasper was the last one. The carnelian, the first one. So it's interesting you have the first and the last. You know, if you want to go into all that, you can see the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last. I mean, so you can read into this however, and people love to read into Revelation. But whether or not that's true, I don't know. But the fact is that these stones both show up in the New Jerusalem, and both of them show up on the high priest's breastplate.
And Sarah, interesting side note, They're getting rid of the knife of the Swiss
Oh,
Army knife.
really?
Really?
Why?
I don't think they'll let you bring it on airplanes, but anyway.
I'm sure they don't
That
want you to bring
is,
anything
She said
like
something
that.
about that, and
Yeah,
I
when you
just heard
say
that from
Swiss-
Sue, and she heard on
Swiss
the
who
news
knows?
yesterday that
Really?
removing the knife from
What?
the Swiss Army knife. It's
What?
going to be a gadget device.
So it's just gonna call it Swiss Army?
That's
I don't
crazy.
think
I
they'll
got the
let you
whole
fly
Swiss
with
Army
it.
in my pocket.
That's crazy.
That's too dangerous. You could spoon us.
But it has
Exactly.
little
My
tiny
fork
pointy
goes through your knife,
scissors too.
whatever.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Corkscrew
say,
us.
corkscrew.
All right.
you can
The
have
question is, do these stones represent things? So, one of the things that one of the people that I read, the reference to precious stones and the statement that the one who sat upon the throne was like them indicates that, like all else in this creation, they have their place as types of unseen spiritual realities. So, the presence of these stones is almost what you would see as a type of something that's spiritual and unseen. Because it says, and indicates the one who sat upon the throne was like them. But anyway,
Like them stones.
Can you say
Like
that
the
again,
stones.
John?
Unseen reality.
Which is,
the reference to precious stones and the statement that the one who sat upon the throne was like them indicates that, like all else in this creation, these stones, they have their place as types of unseen spiritual reality. Do you know what a type is? Let me explain this. Joseph, you remember the character of Joseph in the Old Testament? It says
Yes.
Joseph was a type of Christ.
A representation.
Kinda
of
like-
A representation, yeah. Moses was a type of Christ. So you have these various things throughout Scripture. The ark was a type of Christ. Okay? So you have these things that show up in Scripture that are like representative to a certain degree. I mean, every illustration breaks down, but to a degree, you can see Joseph. He was sold into slavery. And then toward the end, he's raised up. You can see the parallels. You know, Moses, as he was leading the people out from Egypt, and he leads them through death into life. And, you know, the ark, clearly, you know, the world was going bad. And the ark saved Moses, or Noah and his family.
I'm ready for another arc.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see it.
Cool.
So, the other question that we have here is the rainbow. Why the rainbow?
Born to live.
Rainbow Town is where I live.
A reflection of all the of all the precious stones.
Well, it's interesting. You know, scholars debate. Let's just say that. They debate on what the rainbow means. But what's interesting is a rainbow resembling an emerald. What color is an emerald?
Green.
Green. You ever seen a green rainbow?
There's
Not
green
just
in the rainbow.
There's green in the
Yeah.
rainbow. Exactly. So,
Do you know how many millions and gazillions of shades of green there are?
It's true. Yeah.
At least 7.
Good job, Sass.
So,
But the
you
Bible
could have a
says the
rainbow of greens,
You
everywhere
was a
from
covenant
yellow green to almost
us
black
to
green.
show us that
They
this
probably didn't
never
have the word
happened,
spectrum.
right?
Yes.
Am I making that up?
yes.
Okay.
What, I'm saying yes, you're right. Yeah, you asked the wrong way. No, so I think the idea
Yeah,
behind the
definitely.
rainbow, it speaks of mercy in the midst of judgment. You know, judgment fell upon the earth, but Noah and his family were saved out of it. So God gave them a rainbow. It was a symbol of mercy in the midst of judgment.
In Ezekiel 128,
Okay.
like the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord.
Ezekiel what?
128.
128.
So that would be a good reference.
Mercy in
Yeah.
the midst of
Throne
what?
of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Judgment. Judgment.
Thank you.
No, it's a good verse, Mike.
What was the verse again, Mike?
Ezekiel 128.
128.
Wait a minute, I only loaned you that pen.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
There it
It
goes.
came back. You got your change.
No, I want to be responsible for the third missing pin.
Yeah, so that's a good verse there. So yeah, the idea is that the rainbow signifies this this mercy. You know, that yes, we saw the glory of the Lord, but we also see the mercy of God in the midst of, you know, what John is realizing here is there's going to be an awful lot of judgment talked about.
128.
Ezekiel 128, yeah. An awful lot of judgment poured out, and so then we see this rainbow that's there. The other person I thought was interesting when they mentioned this, they said it was encircling the throne. Have you ever seen a circle rainbow?
Yes. Well, flying in a plane.
Double circle.
No. I've
Like
seen
a
pictures
complete
of it.
circle.
I've seen pictures of it, but I've never
Rainbow
actually
is
seen
an
one.
infinity sign. There's two circles.
Well, I don't think we can
Right.
because we're.
I don't know. I just know that the when we typically see a rainbow, we see it
Hearts.
just a half, you
They
know?
had one.
But if you see the whole one, there's
Recently, I
actually
think.
two.
Oh,
It's an
not to have
infinity.
one.
Really?
It's a two-circle thing.
I've seen one.
I've never seen that.
Okay.
I've seen it, but I don't remember where I was.
I know.
I think I was with you when we saw it.
It's
But I
on the
don't
golf
remember
course.
where it was
A
at.
no, what surprised me? Circle rainbow.
We were up high.
And there's no golden pot at the end. then.
No, it wasn't in an
Well,
No, there
well,
wasn't any.
We don't know, but the idea that most scholars see here is that this presence of a rainbow is a example of God's mercy while He's getting ready to judge. Yeah.
It wasn't with you. It was with my family when we were up north and we were at a tall waterfall.
It says, as Noah and his family were saved, so will the 144,000 be saved in the middle of all this,
which is going to show up here shortly. So.
Which would mean something to them.
Right. Scenes in heaven.
As they go.
Yeah, scenes in heaven will be seen on earth. That's the phrase. So, all right. So then we go on here. Surrounding the throne were 24 other thrones, and seated on them were 24 elders.
Ooh.
They were dressed in white and had crowns of gold on their heads. Okay. What are the elders?
Who are the elders?
Who are the elders? That's correct. So there is the throne. I like this. Surrounding the throne were 24 other thrones. And then seated on them were 24 elders. So you have these smaller thrones that are encircling the throne. And then on them are these elders, and they're dressed in white and have crowns of gold on their heads.
So the throne is in the middle, and there's 24 thrones around him.
Yes.
Is that what we're picturing?
Yes.
Does it actually say thrones, not seats? Because King James says
Thrones.
seats.
Thrones.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what the
The
word is.
24 around them.
Seats.
Seats.
Right, right.
Maybe just to signify that they're lesser
God's
than
on the throne. Nobody else can have a throne.
Well, and that's the question. I'm
Seats.
gonna see if it's the
Yeah.
same word.
Sure.
And the crowns have to be.
Yeah, it's like
Same word as what?
God is the only one that has a throne. Come
But we
on.
had 24
Was that-
people.
Same word as what?
As thronos. Is it thronos like?
Yeah,
Like,
Okay.
that's Thronos.
So around the throne, around the thronos, there were 24 thronoses.
okay.
So it's the same
Same. Okay.
same Greek word.
Rude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So what you were asking though, the 24.
The 24 thrones.
Yeah, so what are the
I
20
came up Anyway, in my head with 24.
Okay, so Mike said something. What'd you say, Mike?
It's a multiple of 12.
Multiple of 12.
12
12
tribes.
tribes. I was thinking there has to be connected
But then
to the
you-
tribes, but I'm like,
So,
how is it connected
so
to the
here's
tribes?
the thing, okay? The number. All right, I'm going to jump ahead of my notes a little bit. Why 24? 12 is the number of governmental perfection. And wherever we find it, or any multiple of it, it is always associated with government and rule. So there were the 12 tribes of Israel. There were the 12 disciples or the 12 apostles. If you remember when Judas, ended his life, what did they do?
Filled his place.
They filled a seat. Acts chapter 1, because the belief was we need 12. We have 12 thrones in Israel. There will be 12 rulers in the millennial kingdom. So we read about all these 12. So the idea of that is it's always some sort of governmental ruling, governmental authority, And so the number 12 or a multiple of it is a sign of this governmental authority and perfection.
But there is no reference as disciple.
That's correct. These are elders. These are not the disciples.
Wow. And that's like this,
Right.
to
Right.
further.
Yep. So who are the elders then? If they're not the disciples, who are the elders?
That's a very good question.
Okay. So the idea, the word elder simply means leader. It means leader. It's a title of rank. Governing. Typically elders have a ruling sort of a function.
There is a definition of elder in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not gonna help us with.
Right. I'm going to get back to my.
Where you were before.
Yes. To Revelation chapter 4 and elders is presbyteros. Yes, that's the word I thought it was. So the word elder actually is the word presbyteros. What does that sound like?
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian.
So only the Presbyterians get.
So the Presbyterians get to get on the thrones. Yeah.
Yes.
Just like the JWs get into the kingdom.
Is that Jehovah's
the
Witnesses?
Presbyterian, yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah.
Oh.
So the elders, that word there is a word that means it has a ruling function to it. If you look up in the word, the word for elder that we use in our English language for elders and deacons and trustees, all those sort of things, the idea for elder actually is one of three words: the word presbyteros, the word poimen, and the word episkopos. What does
Episcopal.
Exactly. So those three words are used interchangeably to refer to the same people.
So it's 3 words, same meaning.
Same, yeah. It's just 3 different ways of looking at the same people: episkopos, presbyteros, and poimen. Now, the word for poimen is from which we get our word shepherd. Okay, so we have episkopos, which would be that overseer. If you read in your NIV Bible, the word episkopos is translated as overseer. The word presbyteros is translated as elder, and the word poimen is translated as shepherd. So, but they use those words interchangeably to speak of the same people, just different roles of them. So this function, the word elder or presbyteros, is a reference to this ruling function that they possess. So, are they people that have been elevated to this status? Are they angels or something else?
The angels watch over us, so they are not angels.
You're on to something. Okay. All right. So, the King Jimmy makes this confusing. Somebody read Revelation 5:9. I'm taking every opportunity
That's
to point
2.
out the King James. Yes.
5:9.
I don't have Revelation.
I don't.
And in the King
And they
James.
sang a new song.
Read Revelation 5:9 in the King James, and you tell me who these people are.
Go ahead, Sana.
And they sung a new song, saying, "Is this 5:9?"
You're right.
You said? And they sung a new song, saying, "Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation."
So I want to point this out. In the King James,
That's why.
it says, "Thou wast slain and hast redeemed us
Christ.
to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. Thou hast redeemed us." Who does that sound like? What does it sound like?
Christ.
King Jesus.
Well,
The praises of Christ were
the
slain.
blood was
The blood.
Christ. But who's the redeemed us?
We are.
Well, that's the question. So if you look in the King James, it looks like these are people who were redeemed and then were elevated to these seats on the throne. Okay?
Who were redeemed or who were redeemers?
Who were redeemed, and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood. So now, if you have an NIV or an ESV or something else, read what that says.
And they sang a new song, saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain, and with your blood you purchased for God the persons from every tribe and language and people of nation."
What does that sound
would be
like?
the
That sounds like
Christians
Christ.
that
Like
were
Jesus.
slaughtered by the Romans. And still are being slaughtered today.
A martyred person? Is that-
Well,
We were taken to the scroll.
the idea behind this passage here is that
Men of God.
what John is hearing is that they are singing a song about how God redeemed, how God purchased men for God. So they're saying, you purchased men for God. The King James makes it sound like you redeemed us
3.
for God. Okay? No, this is 2. I'm still pointing out the second one. So anyway,
I'll
but
give
no.
it anyway.
But the idea the idea being, are these individuals redeemed people? Meaning they're humans that are moved up. If you look in almost every single Bible out there, and the weight of evidence is definitely in favor of NIV, ESV, NASB, not the KJV. It's all part of number 2, Ed. There you go. So the idea being that the weight of evidence is that this is not a reference to people who have been redeemed. This is a reference to these elders, these beings, who are praising God that He redeemed men. And we're going to talk about this later on, what this even means in the end of chapter 4. Okay?
So they're not martyrdism.
This is not the martyred people. This is not redeemed. These are not men. These are.
Trying to clear that up.
Yeah. These are some sort of a supernatural.
Heavenly being.
Yeah. So then the question is, are they angels? And that's where we go back. And so the question, are they angels or something else? Okay. If we look here, one of the things that these individuals are doing is, if we look in, if you look in verse 11 of chapter 5.
Do I have to read the King James
No,
again
you'll just be
because I'm
smart.
dying? Can I just go back to one Bible now?
She wants to ask me in King James.
Just parallel it.
I did.
Go
but
home.
It's driving her bonkers.
Oh.
Chapter 5, verse 11. Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000. They encircled the throne and the living creatures and the elders. So the elders seem distinct from the angels.
So it's not angels.
They're not angels, that's correct. They are something else.
Ooh.
Yeah. It seems, based on the context, that they are supernatural beings of some kind, and their function is to lead a vast group of angels in the service of God and the administration of the universe.
Well, maybe it's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You know, that's what my sister Sue called I lost my sister last week.
Okay.
And my sister Sue called me and she said, "Did you ever think that Mary is now with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, all the apostles?" He said, "Wow, she's got a lot of people there for her."
I tell you, I wonder if they come with name tags. You think about that.
Yes,
You get a "Hi, my name is" when you
I think we're all
God's like,
like,
okay,
okay,
here's
here's
your
your
name
name
tag,
tag,
now
now
stick
stick
it
it
to
to
yourself. I think.
Well, I know when my dad died, so much of it was, "Dad, we get to see you again. Dad, we get to see you again." Looking forward to that. But the pastor who did the service, he did a great job. And I guess it was the Sunday morning sermon that he did. And one of the pictures that he put up there was a picture, and it's a famous picture,
but a picture of when the person enters heaven and they give Jesus a hug. And the idea was that, yes, we talk about how I can't wait to get up there and see, Aunt Beulah or whatever else, all these people. But yet, in reality, how much do we say, I can't wait to get up there and see Jesus?
I got so many questions for him, you can't believe.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
But then you have all eternity.
So I gotta step back a second. There's 144,000 you mentioned a little bit ago, and now we're at this. And if you do a quick math, 10,000 times 10,000 is 100 million. Because 144,000 is not a big number.
Well, and 12 and 12. 12 times 12 is 144.
Yeah.
Now, in thousands of thousands, it doesn't say how many there, so that can be infinity.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, but I was just doing the quick math, because you have this reference number of 144,000.
Yep. So why? Why the 144,000?
To show significance.
Well, it's with the 12
Factor
tribes.
right.
It's a factor of 12.
Think about the factor of 12, governmental perfection. This is, if you remember, we've talked about this many times. God using Israel to reach the world, okay? And we're living in a dispensation. We're living in a time now where the nation of Israel has been set aside. So it's just God reaching the world. But Revelation, I'm telling you, and we will see it more and more and more, is a Jewish book. It's a Jewish book. And so when they start bringing these numbers back out again, it's not ironic that they're using 12 tribes, all these topics and things that were so clearly attached to Israel. So clearly. So
I could hook you up with somebody that would argue strongly that it's a Roman Catholic book. I'm sorry.
I'm sure you could.
I got in a long discussion this week with somebody.
All right. So the elders, like I said, it seems to be there's some sort of a supernatural being, and their function is to oversee angels, oversee the administration of the world, whatever it is. We already talked about why of 24, and it's always associated with government and rule. This was a couple on the list. By the way, that was a guy by the name of Bullinger. How many of you have ever heard of that name, Bullinger?
Somewhere around here.
Yeah, Bullinger was he was a brilliant scholar, student of the word. He saw things that just, it was amazing the things that he would see, patterns and things. He must have been like a savant or something. But anyway, yeah, one of the things was there were 24,000 Levites that were to serve in the house of the Lord. Why 24,000? Why not 13,000?
Multiple 12.
Multiple 12, yeah. The number 24 takes us back to the division of the priests in 1 Chronicles 24, 3-18. There were 24 divisions that would serve twice a year. Also, in 1 Chronicles 25, there were 24 prophets appointed. Mm-hmm. This was the last of this. It seems to be closely associated with the administration of the temple. If you remember, the earthly temple is made after a heavenly pattern, and God directed David on how to do it. If you turn to 1 Chronicles 28:13. 1 Chronicles 28:13. We're coming back to Revelation, so keep your finger there.
Too sticky to flip the pages.
Yeah, but in the time of Moses had to put people over each of the tribes also because he couldn't handle all the work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
First Chronicles what?
First
then?
Chronicles?
28.
13.
28.
1 Chronicles 28, 13, and 18.
What verse?
13 and 18. First Chronicles 28, 13, and 18. Look at verse 19. Sorry. My notes are wrong.
Just underlined it.
Oh. Well, 18's good too, But no, you could see, if you look at verse 12, he gave him the plans of all that the Spirit had put in his mind
for the courts of the temple of the Lord and all the surrounding rooms, for the treasuries of the temple of God, and for the treasuries for the dedicated things. And then verses 13 through 18. He gave him instructions for the divisions of the priests and the Levites, and for all the works of serving in the temple of the Lord, as well as all the articles to be used in its service. He designated the weight of the gold, all these sort of things. But then you look down to verse 19. All this, David said, I have in writing from the hand of the Lord upon me, and he gave me understanding in all the details of this plan. Why?
Because he wanted it followed explicitly.
Why?
If it's not written down, I'm not going to remember it.
Why does God care so much about this?
Because
The
it's
God
a
of
reflection
detail.
of
Because that's the
heavenly
way
things.
it's
That's
gonna
the
be.
way-
Correct, because it's a
What?
picture of what's in heaven.
Yay.
Nice
Did
job, Sarah.
something
Good
right.
job, Sarah.
Yes. Yeah. What David is being told about all this is God is saying, do it like this, do it like this, do it like this, do it like this. Isn't it interesting that when Jesus went into the temple, when Jesus was crucified, what happened in the temple? The veil was torn in two, and and the picture of the holy place, as opposed to the most holy place, that veil, that separation was completely removed. And the picture there is, it's the same thing in heaven. This holy place is now in the most holy place. Now we have absolute access to God through this. So this picture, so the temple, the tabernacle, they were all pictures of something down here. And we're going to see this in another one in verse 6, actually. We're coming to it.
Revelation.
We're back in Revelation, chapter 4, verse 6. So, yeah.
No. We're back in.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the difference between a priest and a Levite? Because I always thought that Levites were priests, and then I keep seeing that priests and Levites are separate, and then it's like,
I
what's the
can get
difference?
this. I can get this.
Go
A
ahead.
little bit. Levites is one of the 12 groups.
Families, yeah,
So,
or the, yeah.
Levites, that was their duties, was, right, to go into the priest and take care of the temples and do all the rule things. Is that answering your question?
No.
Aaron.
Why do they have to be separate? Why do they list them separate? They say the priest
Because
and the
the
Levites.
tribe of Levi is really big, but then they select priests only from the tribe
From
of
that
Levi.
tribe.
Like, not every Levite becomes
Right.
a priest.
Right.
Correct.
Right? What's in
Correct.
Aaron's kids?
Aaron's kids, yes. Yeah, Aaron, they were descendants of Aaron. So there were the Levites, and then there were the descendants of Aaron. And so the priests were the descendants of Aaron. As opposed to just so that's correct. Levi, the tribe of Levi is huge, but then there were priests that were selected from that.
You couldn't be from another tribe to become a priest. Well, I can't say you couldn't, but
Right.
the choice was from the Levite group.
Yeah.
It's like
So yeah, just like Sadducees and Pharisees, there were differences between these, but the Levites and the priests, they were just two separate groups. In the one, in order to be a priest, you were a descendant of Aaron. Remember Aaron and Moses? Descendant of Aaron. That's to be the priest.
Okay.
But the Levites, remember the Levites would carry the tabernacle when they would go. They would be guards. Levi, if you remember him, man, he was vicious. You know, he went down and avenged somebody. I mean, you think of priests and you think of Levites as, they're meek and mild, and that was not Levi. Not Levi.
I don't know how accurate this is, but I mean, this could answer, the priests held exclusive rights for service at the sacrificial altar and in the outer and inner sanctum of the temple. The Levites took responsibility of non-priestly tasks like singing, guarding the temple, and other subsidiary work.
Yes.
Now the two people that were stricken dead by the fire weren't they Levites? So,
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I'm going
I don't remember
too
exactly.
deep,
Yeah. All right. So we know now that there were 24 elders, and they were dressed in white and had crowns of gold on their head. Dressed in white is just it's a garment of righteousness. The white is a picture of righteousness. Why the gold crowns?
Because it's the type of crown, and they're always going to be this. Because it's a gold crown, so it's not a congratulations thing.
It's the other.
The idea behind the gold crowns seems to be it designates kind of their ruling. That's the idea. It designates the fact that they're in charge of something. You know, the other angels don't have crowns, but these guys, you know, they're sitting on thrones. They're seemingly different from the other angels, and they have crowns. So it designates this idea that they're in charge. From the throne came flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. Before the throne, 7 lamps were blazing. These are the 7 spirits of God. Oh, here we go again.
The 7 what?
The 7 spirits of God. It says these are the 7 spirits of God. Okay, so why lightning, thunder, rumblings? Does any of you have a different word for rumblings?
Peals.
Peal? No, there's peals of thunder. And then there's rumbling. Oh, so flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of voices.
Rumblings, high winds.
Some have the word there for voices. Is King James that voices? New King James is voices. Yeah. So it's from the throne came flashes of lightning, voices, and peals of thunder. That's the.
Get some tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
After 10 o'clock, though, they said.
Yeah. So these ideas, these thunder, lightning, all that sort of stuff is associated with judgment in Revelation.
Wasn't there thunder and flashes of lightning and that stuff on Mount Sinai?
Yes. It's this idea, if you remember, the nation of Israel, when they were gathered around Mount Sinai, they're freaking out. Because the mountain is on fire, there's thunder, there's lightning, there's voices. I mean, they're literally scared out of their minds.
So is that what it means every time we get a thunderstorm? God's judging us?
You said it's judgment?
No, God's bowling. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I
He's
heard
bowling.
that. Or taking pictures. It's
Yeah.
big flash.
No, that's what my brother always thought.
Yeah.
The angels are bowling.
You said it's a sign of
Judgment.
judgment.
It's associated with judgment throughout the book of Revelation. Chapter 8, verse 5, then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake.
It also happened at when Christ died, too.
Yes, there was an earthquake. 9:19, the power of the horses was in their mouth and in their tails, for their
9:19.
9:19, that's the wrong one.
What?
Having hands with which they inflict injury? Oh, that's not it. Typo, yeah, in my notes. Okay, that's not good.
Not 8:19. There's my first one.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, there's something in 9.
11:19.
What's that?
11:19.
Is it 11:19?
Yeah. There are flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a heavy hail.
There it is.
11:19.
Yeah, 11:19. Yeah, so not 9:19.
Yeah, fix it.
I need to mark that. Yep, 11.
Type it wrong, Sarah.
Don't want that hail either.
I didn't. He did it all by
Yeah.
himself.
16:18 is another one.
Of Revelations?
Of Revelation. Then there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since man has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake. This is all stuff we get to talk about.
So
Yes.
Yeah, you look at
We
it.
used to around the fire.
When
or
that's
what?
all put together, that means judgment.
It's just it's just a picture of when it's God acting, and there's it's I'm sure it's scary.
This is what you used to talk about around the campfire. I missed it.
So the question then is, what are the 7 spirits of God? We encountered this before, didn't we?
Yeah.
You remember what we decided upon?
There's some passage in
Revelation 3, verse 1. To the angel of the church in Sardis, write, these are the words of him who holds the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. I know your deeds. You have a reputation of being alive, but you are dead. These are the words of him who holds the 7 spirits. Do you remember what was discussed?
Was it Isaiah? Or was it Isaiah?
Isaiah 11, yep. Well, before you write that, Isaiah 11 is a theory. Because it refers to the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of whatever, this different things. And yet it's interesting. These are the words of him who holds the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. It doesn't seem, I was talking to Pastor Ben about this as well. This idea that the 7 spirits are like the different 7 facets of God or 7 things doesn't seem to hold up, because it says the one who holds the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. But it goes on to talk about what the stars are. If you go into chapter 1, these are the words of him who holds the 7 stars, chapter 2, verse 1. These are the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand and walks among the 7 golden lampstands. So he's holding these things. So it's the 7 stars. Do we really put the attributes of God in the same hand as holding the leaders? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So the 7 spirits, or the 7 stars, are most likely the 7 angels of the churches that are in his hand. These 7 messengers, the 7 sermons of the churches, they're most likely the 7 angels of the churches that are in his hand for his power. For use, disposal, and command. Remember these 7 churches? Laodicea, Sardis, Philadelphia, all those? He's using these churches for his purposes, for his command. And so it seems to be that these are to the angel of the church at Sardis, to the angel of the church at Philadelphia. So these are the 7 that he holds in his hand for his bidding, for his use.
You said that's about the 7 spirits of God?
Yeah, the 7 spirits, yeah. Because if we go there... Because in chapter 3, verse 1, these are the words of him who holds the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. And then you go into chapter 4. Before the throne, 7 lamps were blazing. What are the lamps? These were the 7 churches, the lamps. So before the throne, the 7 lamps were blazing. These are the 7 spirits of God. So I think it's very clear. It's a reference to those churches. And whether those churches are indicative of other churches. But also before the throne, there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal.
I can remember going out on Lake Superior, deep sea fishing with my parents when I was younger. And that lake was so rough. I got seasick.
Yeah.
We went back at night. It was like a sheet of glass, as smooth as it could be. And I thought, why weren't you that way when I was there?
Yes.
So just in those few hours, it went from as rough as could be to just smooth as glass.
I remember it was the summer of '96. And I was doing an internship at a church in Wisconsin. And I was painting houses that year. So the pastor of the church was a painter. So I worked with him during the week, and then we would do stuff at the church on the weekends. Well, one day we were supposed to go painting. And they had this lake on the way to the job site. And his parents just so happened to have a speedboat on said lake.
Oh, no.
And we're driving by, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, it's warm outside, we're driving by, and the lake is like glass. I mean, not a single wave. He turns to us and he goes, "You want to go water skiing?" We're like, "Yes." So we had so much fun, but man, when you water ski on just glass, it was just beautiful.
Well, that's why skiers want to be out first thing.
Yes,
After
before the lake gets,
before it gets real rough.
Yes, yeah. I guess there was no requirement that day, but man, that was fun. Anyway,
you're to barefoot ski that way. Not that I know how. But
not that I'm going to do that, but
I know people that.
So a sea of glass, clear as crystal. So once again, try to envision. Okay, pretend you're John. and you're having to put words. Remember what we talked about? You know, like trying to explain a cell phone to an Aborigines.
There is a brick
Yeah.
that you speak into, and it goes beep, beep, beep.
So picture these people who are trying to envision this. But this isn't the first time they've talked about this. So turn in your Bibles to Exodus 24. Exodus 24, verse 9.
You say 4 or 24?
24.
Exodus 24, verse 9.
I'm bad at paying attention today.
You're always bad.
You're sleeping over there, so.
Yeah. John's putting me to sleep.
Wow, you sound like Paul.
Paul sent me this. Right? You guys are going to get a sneak peek at it, but Paul sent me this meme today.
Ooh.
And the meme was, I said, I'm gonna put this up front for all the prayers, because we're doing the 90 days of prayer. And it says, "What an amazing sermon today, Pastor. I was praying for you the entire time." I thought that was great.
Good job.
Yeah, good job, Paul. Okay, so 24, 9, and 10. Somebody want to read that?
Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was something like pavement made of sapphire, clear as the sky itself.
Ooh.
So yeah, under his feet was like this clear
Blue.
pavement of sapphire. I mean,
Beautiful.
yeah. All right, Ezekiel 1:22. In fact, we're going to camp here for just a second.
Ezekiel 24, 1 and 2.
This one about the fish.
Yeah, Ezekiel 1:22.
Yeah, Ezekiel 1, verse 22.
Ezekiel 1?
Ezekiel 1.
Ezekiel 1.
1:22.
Spread out above the heads of the living creatures was what looked like an expanse, sparkling like ice and awesome. And you just, that word living creatures, this is what we're going to come into back in our text here in Revelation. The word living creatures is translated into the, it's translated as living creatures because they don't know a way to explain it. It's the whole thing of, the head or the body like an ox, the face like a man, these sort of things. Nobody knows what they really are. They just call them living creatures. But creatures almost seems like some weird thing, but they're awesome. But anyway, I want to read here in Ezekiel 1 and see how similar it is to what we've been looking at in Revelation 4. In the 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day, while I was among the exiles by the Kibar River, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. On the 5th of the month, there was the 5th year of the exile of King Jehoiachin. The word of the Lord came to Ezekiel, the priest, son of Buzi, by the Kibar River in the land of the Babylonians. There the hand of the Lord was upon him. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal, and in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. We're coming to that. In appearance, their form was that of a man, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight. Their feet were like those of a calf and gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had the hands of a man. All 4 of them had faces and wings, and their wings touched one another. Each went straight ahead. They did not turn as they moved. Can you imagine seeing this and you're trying to describe it?
I need someone to draw that out.
Their faces, now pay attention to this. Their faces looked like this. Each of the 4 had the face of a man, and on the right side each had the face of a lion, and on the left the face of an ox. Each also had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread out upward. Each had 2 wings, one touching the wing of another creature on either side, and 2 wings covering its body. Each one went straight ahead. Wherever the Spirit would go, they would go, without turning as they went. I bet you they were crazy. The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire or like torches. Fire moved back and forth among the creatures. It was bright, and lightning flashed out of it. The creatures sped back and forth like flashes of lightning.
Well, they were fast.
As I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its 4 faces. This was the appearance and structure of the wheels. They sparkled like chrysolite, and all 4 looked alike. That word chrysolite, as I was looking at this, some say, once again, another word for diamond. They sparkled like a diamond. This was the appearance and structure of the wheels. They sparkled like chrysolite, and all 4 looked alike. Each appeared to be made like a wheel, intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go in any one of the 4 directions the creatures faced. The wheels did not turn about as the creatures went. Their rims were high and awesome, and all 4 rims were full of eyes all around. Pay attention to that detail. When the living creatures moved, the wheels beside them moved, and when the living creatures rose from the ground, the wheels also rose. Wherever the Spirit would go, they would go, and the wheels would rise along with them, because the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the creatures moved, they also moved. When the creatures stood still, they also stood still. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose along with them, because the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. And then we read about some of this. Verse 25, Then there came a voice from above the expanse over their heads as they stood with lowered wings. Above the expanse over their heads was what looked like a throne of sapphire, and high above on the throne was a figure like that of a man. I saw that from what appeared to be his waist up, he looked like glowing metal, as if full of fire, and that from there down he looked like fire, and brilliant light surrounded him. Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him. Would you be freaked out if you saw this?
Yes.
It's like
It's even hard to imagine. Like in
It's-
here, I'm like, I need somebody to draw this
Yes.
up for me. Can I actually see what it looks like?
Yes. So I have a picture of Revelation 4 that somebody drew out, okay? Because we're going to go to this. That's why I brought my computer. Look at, go back to Revelation 4. Oh,
At least there's not snakes in it.
Snakes.
I know. So also before the throne there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. In the center around the throne were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes in front and in back. Sounds familiar, right?
Creepy.
The first living creature was like a lion, the second like an ox, the third had a face like a man, the fourth like an eagle. Sound familiar, doesn't it? Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings and was covered with eyes all around, even under his wings. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Day and night they never stopped saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come.
All I can think of is all the songs.
Exactly.
That fill these words,
Yes.
and I just want to start singing.
I know. Maybe next week we'll sing it, okay?
Okay.
All right.
John, can I cover you in googly eyes?
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Please.
All right, I want to show you this picture here.
I made my Sunday school class draw this up years ago.
Did you really? That would be kind of cool.
They wanted to talk about alien spaceships, and that's where we come to on this.
This is a good idea.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being covered in eyes?
No, that's just disgusting.
You would, like, on your feet and stuff?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So this is clearly an artist representation. You
But
know?
it's not
There's
a
no
circle.
thrones.
But they're rolling around.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
well,
is. There's a throne in the background.
Obviously,
they're
the
all supposed to
thrones
be
are
sitting
around
on thrones.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Notice, though, it's because, once again, if we come here, it says, whenever the living creatures give honor, give glory, honor, and thanks to him who sits on the throne and him who lives forever and ever. The 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne and worship him who lives forever and ever. They lay their crowns down. So you can see the picture. Here's these 24 elders, and they fall down and worship, and they lay their crowns down. Here's the sea. Here's the throne of light. You got the 7
I
lampstands.
thought that was in his hand.
What?
The lampstands.
No, there's the 7 lampstands there, but it says the spirits are in his hand.
Oh, the spirits are in his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before
the
the
lamps
throne,
are
7
blazing.
lamps were blazing, it says. So before the throne, 7 lamps were blazing. You've got a rainbow that looks like an emerald, but this is multicolors. We don't know. Then you got these creepy living creatures.
They don't look that
They're
creepy.
almost got the gothic type style.
Because they're
is
not
kinda
showing
what
you all
think of.
sides of the face, because the front is the guy on the right, and that's the front view, and then the side
Yeah.
views are showing.
So you've got eagle, you've got ox,
Right.
you've got lion, and you've got the face of a man.
I do too.
But each one of their heads has that same view.
Yeah, and then they got
So-
6 wings with eyes on them.
So you're saying all of them have the same head?
The four
four-
of them on the same head.
But
Okay.
we're seeing different
Well, but
perspectives.
here's the
of
thing:
But we're
if you
seeing
go to
different-
Ezekiel, Ezekiel said that they had 4 sides. One side was an ox, one side was a man,
Right.
one side. So Ezekiel sees something different, and so it's difficult to figure out exactly. And clearly, once again, this is an artist representation, but you can see the lightning, picture the thunder, hear the thunder.
Not enough eyeballs.
Yeah,
Not enough.
creepy.
So the eyeballs are on the wings.
I
is
don't
that what's-
know.
On the wings,
The
they're
bodies
wings.
too. They don't have the eyeballs on the feet or tail or anything.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
There's
there's
eyeballs
on
on
his
his
butt.
butt.
He's
Yeah,
got,
that's not the feet or
eyeballs.
tail though.
Eyeballs
Yeah,
on there.
getting closer helps. Because you can't tell that one's an eagle until you get up there. Cause it
Right,
looks like
it
it's
is.
just
Yeah, it's an
air.
eagle
Well,
right
go
there.
look
He's
closer.
kind of looking down.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stand it. Yeah, you know, it kind of looks like peacock, the peacock feathers. It's kind of what the eyeballs
Oh
look like.
yeah.
No, my stomach's kind of upset from.
Yeah,
I don't think that's true. Thank you.
she said
So once again,
her stomach's upset.
this is not inspired. Okay, I just want to affirm this is not
But
inspired.
it kind of gives you a
gives
picture
you a yes.
of what they're
Because it's hard to like mentally.
See, and I was thinking there would be like an eagle hat on
Right.
top of the faces.
Sure.
See, like from back here, it looks like an
somewhere.
eagle.
Yeah.
What's
That's
that?
eyeball
From
all
back
down
here,
the
it looks
legs
like
or
an
the
eagle.
tail
It doesn't look like an eagle.
No,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Fingers
I
covered in
ate.
eyeballs.
It was yummy. I ate what I would allow myself to.
So
Trying to
anyway,
be good.
Crazy.
yeah. Oh, really quick, one other thing. Go back to verse 5. I forgot to say this. From the throne came flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. Before the throne, 7 lamps were blazing. These are the 7 spirits of God. If you look in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 7, go to Hebrews 1:7. You have that in your notes? Yeah. Hebrews 1:7. And speaking of the angels, he says, He makes his angels winds, his servants flames of fire. So the idea that in the hand of God, God can will and direct. He directs his angels to do his bidding out there. But it's, specifically, he says, he makes his angels winds, his servants flames of fire. But that word for wind is the word pneuma. Okay? Now the word pneuma actually gets translated as the word spirit.
That changes it.
Yes.
I didn't know we were getting a Hebrew language.
Well, that's
Lesson
Greek.
tonight.
That's Greek, actually. Yeah. But the word pneuma gets translated as spirit oftentimes.
Which is what it is.
Yeah, I already said
Exactly.
spirit.
Yeah. So in the New King, he makes his angels spirits. That would be where different translations would help, because in the NIV it just reads he makes his angels winds. Okay, winds, but no, he makes his angels spirits. So you can see, if you go back to this, these are the 7 spirits of God. These are the 7 angels of God. Okay. All right, we are out of time. We will pick up with verse 6 next week with the sea of glass, and I want to reference, and I'll give you a little teaser. In the tabernacle and in the temple, specifically in the temple, there was a sea.
And not a liver.
You remember the sea? What's that?
A pond.
It was not a pond because it was a self-standing
I
thing.
know. You
And
have
it
to
was
forgive
made
my
of
writing.
bronze. You remember the bronze sea? You remember that at all from your studies? But the idea of the bronze sea was that it was supported by oxen. Any idea how many oxen supported it?
12.
12 oxen. Now they were all made of bronze, but it was huge. And the idea was that the sea was before where you would enter to go see God. So there you have this picture of SES. Yes. SES.
So you
How big
go
was
and you
this
get
temple?
baptized in water before you
How big
go
was
see
which
God.
temple?
The temple that had the sea in it.
Oh, well, if you're the sea, the bronze sea was, I forget how big it was, but it was, I think, close to like 20 feet across. It was a very large thing, and then it was full of this full of water. But it was there to signify the picture of what it's like in heaven. So when God tells, yeah, it was there to signify that, to picture that. So I do thank you for your word, and there's such cool stuff in here as we, man, I'll tell you, it's just, we just stand in awe. And I think of this artist who tried to draw this picture up here, and I'm sure it does not even do justice to what is really like up there in heaven. And to see these people, these elders, as they constantly fall down just in amazing worship, and they never grow weary and tired of how amazing you are. So I just thank you for being so awesome, and may our worship be reflective of that. I thank you once again for this group, and that we can get out here and open up your word, and I thank you for the really smart people who went before me, who can help us understand better what your word says. But may we not just take it as head knowledge, but may we grow in our appreciation and our wonder of you. So we love you so much in Jesus' name. Amen.